And so these two German powers, the House of Hesse and the House of Rothschild, combined together and were making a lot of money out of mercenary soldiers. And the King of England, King George III, was hiring the Hessians from Germany to fight for the English in the American Civil War. And so let's have a look now at the rise of the House of Rothschild. The history of the House of Rothschild describes the most ruthless and successful Jewish money changers of all time. It begins at Frankfurt on Main in Germany in 1750, which is symbolically today the home of the European Central Bank. And in 1773, Mayer Amschel Rothschild, at age 30, invited 12 other wealthy and influential money changers to meet him in his house at Judengasse in Frankfurt. There, Mayer Amschel Rothschild explained how the English Revolution failed and how they could make much greater profits through a French Revolution. Once they agreed to the idea of a French Revolution, Mayer Amschel Rothschild then began to unveil his revolutionary model, which was 25 points. The first was the idea that the majority of men were inclined to evil rather than good, therefore violence and terrorism are the best tool to change the world rather than reason and logic. He argued that the law was a force in disguise, arguing by the laws of nature, right, lies and force. Number 2. Rothschild asserted that political freedom was an idea and not a fact, and that they should promote liberalism as a way of changing the status quo to make people give up some of their prerogatives and existing powers. Number 3. The power of gold as the basis of capital. And so gold was entirely in the hands of the money changers. And so this is why all the Central Reserve banks use gold as their basis for their currency. Next, the end justifies the means, and he explained why they must use all means to reach their goal. Number 5, he says might is right, and the idea of being right has nothing to do with morality, just to do with having the power to get other people to lay down their rights through their liberal ideas. The power of our resources must remain invisible until the moment when it has gained such strength that no cunning or force can undermine it. He warned that any deviation from a strategical plan may bring to nothing centuries of labour. He advocated the use of mob psychology in order to take control of the minds of the masses. Rothschild advocated the use of alcoholic liquors, drugs, moral corruption and all forms of vice to be used systematically by the agenteurs to corrupt the morals of the youth of nations, and they would use bribery, deceit and treachery. The right to seize property by any means without hesitation to secure submission and sovereignty. Introduce the words liberty, equality and fraternity among the masses. Furthermore, upon the ashes of the Goyim, they will set up an aristocracy of money. Next, Rothschild expounded his ideas about war to place nations under further debt and then to manage the peace process so that neither of the combatants would obtain territorial gains. Rothschild described the candidates chosen for the public office to be as pawns in our game. The use of propaganda by using their wealth to control all outlets of public information. He said, thanks to the press, we have gold in our hands, notwithstanding the fact that we had to gather it out of the oceans of blood and tears. It is necessary to have our agent-tour, that is their puppets or pawn, come out into the open when conditions have reached their lowest ebb and the masses have been subjugated by means of want or terror. Next, Rothschild spoke about the boom and bust cycle where depressions and financial crises could be brought about to serve their own purposes. Number 15, the infiltration of Masonic lodges to create Grand Orient lodges because Freemasonry allowed them to take advantage of the facilities and secrecy Freemasonry had to offer. Also, it allowed them to spread atheistic, materialistic ideology among the Goyim. The systematic deceptions will be used to fool the Goyim, and for this reason, after we obtain control, the very name of God will be erased from the lexicon of life. The art of revolutionary war was discussed from street fighting to have a reign of terror where all opposition was eliminated, because it is the most economical way to bring the population to speedy subjection. Diplomacy was discussed so that the agent-tour, masquerading as political, financial and economic advisors, carry out their mandates. The ultimate goal is world government. Economic war was discussed to rob Goyim of their land and industry through their debt to their banks, making armaments so the Goyim would destroy themselves. the New World Order. The members of the New World Order would be appointed by a dictator from scientists, financiers, industrialists, capitalists, etc. Capture the mind of the youth by teaching them theories and principles we know to be false. National and international laws will be established to substitute arbitration with the law. And so Rothschild and his fellow bankers began to implement this plan immediately after it was given in 1773 there in Frankfurt in Germany by infiltrating Masonic lodges around Bavaria and other parts of Germany. And on the 1st of May 1776, Adam Weishaupt at Ingolstadt University founded what is known today as the Illuminati, which introduced Grand Orient Freemasonry into the Masonic lodges, which held the Jews up as God's chosen people. And we know that this plan was then developed in Regensburg, where Adam Weishaupt lived, with one of his brothers, Franz Xavier Zwack, and they put together a book of the plan, and also they made a list of all the Masonic lodges they had infiltrated around Bavaria. And when Adam Weishaupt was handing this book and the plans to a courier called Jacob Lance outside the gates of Regensburg, he was struck by lightning and died, and Adam Weishaupt fled the scene. And so this is how the Bavarian authorities came across the plan of Rothschild to create a revolution. And so the Bavarian government began to send notification of this plan to other governments around Europe and also to the church. And so this was the lead up to the French Revolution. And so by 1789 the revolution in France was taking place.
The earth hungers for blood. There's a riot in us. Fate thickens the air. We know our time is near. This is a revolution. We are rising up. We are rising up. This is a revolution. We are rising up. We are rising up. This is a revolution. One moment in time to carve our names with fire. With everything on the line, watch the world ignite. This is a revolution. We are rising up. We are rising up. This is a revolution.
And so the French Revolution was carried out according to the plan that was laid down by Mayer Amschel Rothschild in Frankfurt in 1773, including the Reign of Terror and the use of sedition and la infamie at the Palais Royal, and the propaganda that was used and all the strategies that were outlined by Rothschild. And by 1800 they had control of the central bank of France.